to Covington Conversations. I'm Sherry Karen, Mayor of City of Covington, and the show is about introducing you to people and projects in the city, people and projects that are making Covington a special place to be. My guest today is Gus Wolf. Gus wears many hats for the City of Covington. He serves on Covington's Urban Forestry Board. He's notorious for bringing goats down to Goebel Park, and he's also the manager of Covington's Farmers Market. So welcome, Gus.
Thanks.
So I'm trying to remember back when I first met you, and I believe it was when you were just coming into the city in the main Strauss area and working with neighborhoods and planting trees.
Yeah, that's correct. I moved to the Covington area a little over 3 years ago, and my first kind of involvement with the city, it was on the Urban Forestry Board. I'd met Jason Roberts, the urban forester here in Covington, through different channels, and he invited me to come to an Urban Forestry Board meeting, which was right up my alley. I have a family farm in Carroll County, and we also have a nursery on the farm, so I grow and sell trees wholesale. And so I wanted to learn more about what Covington was doing with their trees and plantings, and so got involved with, we had a street tree planting, the Holman Street tree planting last year, where we removed Bradford Pear trees and planted, I believe it was 140 some trees on the streetscape in Holman Avenue. And so that was kind of my introduction to Covington, and I found that it was a great place to get involved, and where people were willing to listen to your ideas, and there were different organizations to be a part of.
Right. So urban forestry is different. A lot of cities have tree boards, and I view urban forestry as a little different. Urban forestry is about the larger ecosystem. It's just not about planting trees, but that relationship of trees to people, wildlife, and our overall natural habitat. And so you mentioned the Holman Avenue tree planting project in removing the Bradford Pears. And so what we've learned are that Bradford Pears are not the ideal tree, that they're hybrids, and they were bred to sort of be the excellent street tree, and we're finding out that's not the case. So we decided that we needed to get rid of these trees that were basically breaking off, shedding fruit that was very undesirable. And so it took a lot of PR working with the neighborhood and the people living on Holman to get them to understand. And you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you mentioned, there is a big difference between forestry and urban forestry, and because there is a real interaction between the trees, the community, and the city itself. And so planting the right tree in the right place is very important. And the Bradford Pears, well, cities all across the country are learning this lesson, but they're not the right tree, and the city of Covington and Urban Forestry Department and the board was proactive about this on this street, and we reached out to the neighborhoods. People went door to door knocking to get neighbors' opinion, and the opinion was, this fruit stains my car, and I'm afraid a branch is going to break and destroy property. And of course, some people wanted to keep the trees, and because aesthetically, if you were to just drive down the street, you see these big trees, and that's what I want too, is big, beautiful trees in our urban area, but they have to be the right trees. So it was a real process in engaging the community, making the case to the community that this was the right thing to do, and then executing the project with volunteers, city staff, and others. And
it was actually, we did it over a weekend, although there was a lot of prep by the Division of Urban Forestry, taking the trees down and grinding the stumps. But the actual planting, I think it was like 114 trees, something like that.
Yeah, over 2 days. Yeah.
Over 2 days, and the people in the community, I think we had like at one time over 100 people volunteering.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing is, that was last spring, not this past spring, but this 2014. And I think we've only had 2 or 3 trees die, which is amazing. That's a good survival rate.
Yeah, survival rate's great, and they're all doing well. I drive down that street quite often, you know, and the trees look great.
Yeah. And I think everybody is happy. I mean, I think they were a little concerned that little twigs were going to be planted, and we planted good-sized trees.
Yeah,
and they're looking good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and since then, I've noticed where it seems like the people living on the street seem to be taking better care of the property. This seems like the sidewalks are cleaner. So I think it did somehow or other give a sense of pride to that neighborhood.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think the people in the area saw that the city and other residents in the community were willing to take the effort to beautify and improve the street, and that encourages everybody to kind of do the same and step up a little bit.
But the urban forestry is one of the reasons I got involved was it is a way about making our communities more livable, and I think more and more people are beginning to understand that. It's, you know, I was down in Main Strauss this weekend with the car show. And so all the cars were displayed underneath that beautiful canopy of trees on 6th Street Boulevard. And then you had the Goose Girl Fountain with the outdoor dining. But everybody was sitting in the tables and chairs that were under the trees. All the tables and chairs that were out in the sun, nobody was sitting in them.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
People love the shade of the trees in the summertime.
Yeah, and even if you don't realize it per se, you're going to gravitate towards the shade, you know, and the trees provide shade, and in a urban area like this, you know, our common spaces are outside, you know, this is where people are, and so the trees really enhance that space. They
really do, and it's like, I think it's one of the things like with Goebel Park, you know, with the new playground equipment, the effort Make Goebel Great, that is such a cool space, but you have those huge, big shade trees. I had no idea how old that one oak is.
Oh, there's a giant oak, yeah.
But that gives a sense of identity, and then you have the trees that line up to the clock tower. It really does enhance the image and just the good feeling of the area.
Absolutely. I point that big oak tree at Goebel Park out to everybody, and you can see it right off Philadelphia between 5th and 6th Street, and it's, I don't know, I would say it's over 100 years old. I have no idea. I'd actually like to see old pictures, you know, to see what it looked like, because it really creates a space, and like nothing else can.
Yeah.
So.
So we're going to be taking a break here pretty shortly, and I think when we come back, we're going to be talking about something else you've done in Goebel Park just recently that's getting a lot of excitement, and we're going to be talking in a little bit here about the goats. Yeah, the goats.
No, sounds great. It's just the next step in urban forestry, and I think it's just. It's things we can do, you know, to really improve our community, just thinking about it a little bit differently and how to manage space differently.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Covington Conversations.
Oh, hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey.
Where have you been?
I lost my cat.
Oh, that's not right.
Yeah, so I made this cat magnet to try and get him back.
Cool. Does it work?
Kinda.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's not my cat. Gotta keep working on it. See ya.
See ya.
Anything's possible. Keep thinking. Get started on your own inventions or just play some games at inventnow.org.
Welcome back to Covington Conversations. My guest today is Gus Wolf. As I said in the beginning, Gus wears many hats, and we just talked a little bit about Covington's urban forestry program, and part of urban forestry is land management. And Gus did something really cool earlier this year, and has had a lot of support. Part of urban forestry is the management of invasive species and overgrowth. And so we had an issue down at Goebel Park, And Gus, you want to talk about your idea and how it's working?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I had the idea to bring goats to Goebel Park and use them to manage the invasive species that we're kind of taking over a specific hillside between what I call Upper and Lower Goebel Park. And so yeah, it took a little bit of talking through to residents and other members in the community. Some people got it right away and said, yes, I love this idea, you know, let's do it, bring them down tomorrow. Some people said, what in the heck are you talking about? Right. But through the efforts of other residents in the community, Make Goebel Great, and the improvements of the playground, there was momentum to improve this park, and it's, you know, kind of look at what else can we do. And so the goats became something that people were willing to discuss, and it's happening in other cities, you know, Portland and different parts of the United States do this, so it's not, you know, a totally far-fetched idea. And so we've been able to do that. We brought the goats in, I think it was right at the end of May, and they're there right now eating, and it's been a great success.
So you have, how many goats are there?
So we have 10 goats. They are all does, so females, and they're between the ages of 3 to 5, maybe 6 years old. There's a couple girls that are, you know, on the older, a little bit older, but you know, so they're all mature does.
Right. And they're the goats that have the horns. So there's different breeds of goats. So this one has got the really, I mean, beautiful horns that they have.
They're beautiful goats, and they're really, as far as goats go, they're mutts. You know, I mean, they're Kiko, Savannah, Spanish kind of blend. There's a little boar goat, I think, in one of them, but they're really just kind of a mutt, which makes them a real hardy, just kind of tough goat that like to eat different things, and so that's what makes them perfect for the space there. Yeah,
so they're not only helping us manage the hillside there, but it's been great to see the kids and families come down and take an interest in them and sort of learn about the farm animals and there's a lot, but there's a lot of work also involved. So you have a fenced-in area. It's a fence that holds the goats in and also protects the goats. But because you're doing such a great job in eating the vegetation, you actually have to move the fence every so often, move them to another area. And you always seem to have help in doing that.
Yeah, we've accumulated a list of over 50 volunteers of people in the community who want to help in various ways with this project, and so we've been able to even organize people into groups. You know, people, I get text messages all day long of people who are checking on the goats. We've got a calendar where people have signed up ever since they've been there, morning, noon, and night. You know, a member of the community has signed up to just go by, check the fence, make sure they're okay, and send me a quick text message, you know, hey, everything looks okay, or hey, you know, I saw this, or whatever the case may be. And we also have people who help with the fencing, because the fencing is a real, it is the most work in this project, and the way we're using they're called goat panels and T-posts, and a goat panel is 5 foot tall by 16 foot long, and it's rigid metal is what it is, and so we fasten those to the T-posts, and we create paddocks, is what, you know, kind of the areas that they're in are called, and once the goats clear a paddock, we move them on to the next one. Right now they are right by Goebel Pool, as a matter of fact.
Oh boy, they've gone that far.
Yeah, and so we've moved to the area that they're in now is a little bit bigger than the previous couple that they've been in. Only because we were able to raise money by naming the goats through our businesses in our community, which enabled me to buy more fencing to, you know, just kind of increase the scale a little bit of the project, which is another way we're just getting creative to work with the community on this. And so now they're in a bit bigger area, which makes them a little bit harder to see, but yeah, so they're
So when
doing
you
great.
said you're naming the goats, so talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is we're still working this out, and I'm not going to list every business because I don't want to mess it up. But this is why we know these goats are great, because we reached out to really, not very many businesses, and the ones we did hopped right on board to help sponsor the goats. And so, for a fee, $250, they're able to choose the name of the goat, and however they want to do that. I mean, we get final. We have to approve the goat, but you know, one business was doing it kind of a naming contest with their company, you know, and however they want to come up with a name, they come up with a name, and it helps us raise money to make this project happen, because what really, we were initially able to make this happen through a grant for the Center for Great Neighborhoods Community Creates, which was a $5,000 grant, which was kind of the initial fee. And we knew we were going to have to raise more money though, because that didn't cover the cost at all. And so we got creative and we reached out to the community, and this was one way. And so businesses have really hopped on board, and now, so we're gonna. All of them have been sponsored, and soon we will reveal their names. And so all the goats have names. Business sponsor. If the businesses that sponsor the goat get a picture of the goat in their office, you know, sponsored by so and so. And so we're just trying to have fun with them.
And I know, being the mayor of the city, I had some people expressing concerns about, you know, why were we doing this? And the city was doing it basically to help our manpower. I mean, we were using a lot of manpower trying to deal with those invasive species and the overgrowth. And so this way, you're really helping the city and the urban forestry division. So it's saving us money, and it's really creating a lot of goodwill within the community, I feel.
Well, yeah, I think there's just a lot of it benefits in many aspects, and that's what I really like about it, you know, between the social and the environmental impact that it can have. I mean, the social impact is real. I mean, there are people learning about goats. There are people meeting each other who have never talked before. And I think one of the main reasons I moved to Covington, and I knew when I moved here, is I feel like as a resident in an urban area, you have to be involved. You know, I call it street characters. You know, there have to be people you see on the street on a regular basis, just because that's my community. I know I'm going to see Gus over by the goats, or I know I'm going to see Gus and the chickens, and my kid can walk down that street because so-and-so's over there, you know, and that's it. It's getting us to utilize these spaces, and this is a space that was utilized in negative reason. You know, it's where people would go in, and either homeless people would sleep, or if they wanted to go drink their 40s or whatever, it was just a space that there was a wall of weeds, and you could walk through this wall of weeds and you could do whatever you wanted. And now that the goats have eaten it down, you can see from top to bottom, a mom can feel safe walking her kids down that path, and the space is utilized again, whereas it was just underutilized or misutilized before.
It's become a very special place, and part of it is because of the new playground equipment, but also part of the goats, I think, have played a big role in that as well. Well, we're going to have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Hello. Yes. Can I ask a few questions about the apartment on Park Street?
What was your name?
My name is Juan Hernandez.
It's been rented.
Oh, it's gone. Hello, my name is Sanjay Kumar. I am calling about the apartment on Park Street.
It's not available.
Not available? Hello, my name is Tyrone Washington. I'm calling about the apartment on Park Street.
Just been rented.
Hello, I am Chen Ling. My name is Khalid bin Ali. I'm Tuan Vo. Hello, my name is Moshe Goldberg. I use a wheelchair. It's gone. Not available. All right. Thank you. Yes, hello, my name is Graham Wellington. I'm calling about the apartment for rent on Park Street. Is that still available?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Really?
Housing discrimination is illegal. If you think you've been a victim because of your race, color, national origin, sex, religion, disability, or family status, call us. Fair housing. It's not an option. It's the law.
Welcome back to Covington Conversations. My guest today is Gus Wolf. In our previous segments, we talked about urban forestry in Covington, and we talked about the goats that make Goebel great, Goebel Park. And the next item I want to talk about, Gus, is the farmers market. You've been the manager of the farmers market. This is your second year.
That's correct.
And it's been growing under your management. And I haven't been able to make it on Saturday mornings as much as I would like to, but when I'm down there, there's always a really good hub of energy, and it seems like it's growing.
Yeah, we're having a really great time with the market this year, and as you mentioned, last year was my first year being involved with the market, and the first thing I realized, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I'd never managed a farmer's market before, but one of the first things I realized was we have a great core group of customers that frequent this market, which I should have known in Covington because we have such great people here anyway, but that's what really inspired me. You know, there's this core group of people that will support the farmers, and they want to support, you know, a variety of farmers, and they just want this place where this positive for community and commerce in Covington, and so yeah, and so this year we've been able to kind of build on that momentum. We've recruited a few additional farmers. We have music every Saturday. We have a wonderful act, Chris Kruer, who plays every Saturday.
Oh, she's really good.
Yeah, she's amazing. She
Yeah.
plays the ukulele, and so we kind of recruited her as our house band per se,
Yeah.
and she's there from 11 till 1. And so we're having a lot of fun with the market.
So what time does the market open on Saturday?
So the market is every Saturday, 9 till 1. It's right on 3rd and Court Street by the Roebling Bridge. We close down the section of 3rd Street, 3rd and actually Court, right in that area. There's free parking in large parking lot by the Roebling Bridge there, and also on Court Street where we close down. There's parking available.
So it's just south of the Police Memorial area.
Exactly,
Yeah.
just right there south of
Yeah.
the Police Memorial, just across Green Up from Roebling Point Bookstore.
Right.
Right in that area there, and we close down the street, and it's got a great feel. You can see the bridge. There's trees, of course, which I like, you know, to shade the spot, and great people.
Yeah.
And so
I think a lot of people who don't realize that this is a true farmers market, and so produce. People expect to come in May and June and expect tomatoes, and you don't have tomatoes unless they have a hothouse.
Yeah.
And so they don't realize that there's a season for each produce item, and so because the stuff for the most part is grown by local farmers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the one thing that I noticed this year, for those who don't know, I was the farmers market manager when it started in Covington, which I was trying to look back, I think it was 2005 when it started. So this is actually the 10th year for the farmers market in Covington. And so now you're bringing back some of the original farmers that we had who sort of took a break, went to other farmers markets, and now they're back here in Covington, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, exactly. They're feeling the energy, and they're coming back, and what as a farmers market manager, I mean, one of the important things is to make it these farmers are there to make money, you know, and this is how they survive in their livelihood, and so it needs to be a productive market, and it needs to be a place where they can come and make it worth their time, and so we've been really working hard on building our customer base and making it a desirable market for farmers to come venda.
Right. The one thing I remember the first year of the farmers market was that the farmers who had go to other farmers markets, so there's farmers markets like during the week, and some are on Sundays and everything. Ours is on Saturday, but the farmers would always tell me how they loved coming to Covington because they really developed a relationship with the people coming to buy their goods, and the people coming enjoy talking to the farmers, and they get to know each other. And I don't know, I guess maybe that isn't quite the same dynamic in other markets, because they seem to really call that as a special thing in our market.
Yeah, well, we have great people here, but I mean, we're really in an urban environment, and that's why why I like the market so much, and one thing that I felt like it was an area that I could kind of give back or be productive in the communities, because I do travel between the rural and urban community. My farm's in Carroll County. It's an hour south of here in a very rural area, but yet I live right here in the city, and my customer base for my nursery is here, and so I really spend time between both worlds. And that's what I think the farmers, they like to come into this world, and they like to see the bridge, and they like to see the people riding their bicycles, and they just like the energy that we have here in the city. And I get that the same from this market. I've got a few farmers who they've got events and things coming up, but they tell me they're going to make the Covington market because they like it so much, and they like the people so much here.
Yeah. Before we got a couple minutes in. One of the things I always sort of call you the Johnny Appleseed of Covington, because some may see Gus riding around on his bike that has a little cart on the back, and he's giving flowers away, or he makes honey, he gives his honey away and stuff like that. But you have this idea of maybe sort of distributing some of the farmers' produce on your bike, and we got just a little bit of time if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll talk. One of my other projects that I've got going on is I have a tricycle, and it's a cargo trike, and the Center for Great Neighborhoods, another great Covington partner, through their community, it creates grants as well. I wrote and received a grant for $2,000 to buy produce from the farmers at our farmers market and distribute it to people in the community here in Covington. And I'm having a blast doing it. Like the first time I went to Goebel Park, checked on the goats, and handed out, talked to the parents and the people playing on the playground, and they loved it. There was one family there, they had the grills all fired up. I had 5 dozen ears of corn. We just started throwing the corn right on the grill. I mean, they loved it. And so we're really developing a route for this tricycle, and it's just building goodwill through food, and urban agriculture.
Yeah. Gus, I think I could talk to you for another hour, but it's our time has come to an end. Maybe I'll have you back on the show, maybe later in the year. But it's been a real pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And so for those who don't know Gus, go down to the farmers market and meet him, or go over to Goebel Park and check out the goats. And we're just so happy you're part of our community.
Thanks.
Thank you. The end of our show. We'll be back next month with another show. And thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you, Gus.
Thank you.
All right.